Hello, welcome back to a new video. In today's video, I'm going to go over the Midsummer Sale for 2013 on Roblox. So yeah, let's get started. So this is a part of the Catalog Flashback series, and if you don't know what this Catalog Flashback series is, it's basically me going over a different update or events that happened on the catalog as something to just go over just for nostalgia's sake, and it's just fun to look back on past events that happened on Roblox. And since it is around that time that a Midsummer Sale would happen typically on Roblox, I decided to go with one of the Midsummer Sales in the past, and I went with one of the earlier ones in 2013. And there isn't much information available about this type of sale, but I just still wanted to go over it because I still think it's nice to go over things early on, even though there might not be a lot of information about it. However, there are some things that I can use to actually go over this. They did make a blog post that has some of the items that happened in the sale, and they were tweeting when this sale was actually happening as well. So I will be going over both of these, help out with some of these items. And basically on the blog post right over here, they start off by saying what this summer solstice is and why they decided to make a sale like this. And this sale isn't one of the big sales like Black Friday or Labor Day. It was a smaller sale. This one only lasted about 2 days, but later on they did increase it to about 3 to 4 days. It definitely wasn't as big as the other sales. Not many things went limited, if anything went limited, and they only released items really themed around midsummer. So right over here they start by saying that the sale starts on 9 p.m. Pacific time, which is midnight for EST, and they will release things all throughout the night. So this sale usually takes place very late, and if you're younger and you can't really stay up, this is a sale that you'll probably miss out on a lot of things, which usually makes the items pretty rare as not many people are actually up to get them. So it seems just based on what I've seen that they released things only on one night and they were available for about 2 days before they went off sale. So right over here they did start off with gear. There's this chalk sword, there's a treehouse, there's a tennis racket, and a rocket ship. And all 4 of them did go off sale after the sale ended, like it said here. So you only had this sale to get off of these items. So first off, right over here we do have this chalk sword. This is a pretty interesting one. It's just like the chalk they used to draw with on boards or on the sidewalk, and they made it into a sword, which I think is a pretty unique idea. Otherwise, it is a kind of random item. Obviously it didn't do the best. They only got around 1,000 sales, so it's pretty rare today. Unfortunately, it has not gone limited, so it probably won't go limited as Roblox has kind of stayed away from gears. But as you can see, they had a pretty big emphasis on them back in the day, starting off with the whole section about gears, so that's pretty cool. And if you do try it on, this is how it looks like a character, so it looks pretty cool. You definitely make a nice little outfit with this one, so this is definitely pretty nice gear for them to release back in the day. And next up over here we do have Instant Treehouse. This one has an unknown amount of sales, but it probably is similar to the chalk sword, probably just a bit more, since this one I think has a lot more viability factors. I think it's just a silly item. The other one is just a sword. This is pretty cool though. It doesn't really relate to anything, it's just a nice outdoorsy item, and it's pretty cool that you're able to get it as it's no longer available. And this sells like a character. It looks pretty nice. It's a little thing to hold in the hand, so overall pretty great gear. Next up over here we have tennis rack. This is just your basic equipment for tennis, so if you're a big tennis fan, then this is definitely one that you were able to get during that time. It's a pretty interesting choice for them to make it limited time, as it is just a general sports item, but it is limited time and you can't get it anymore. This one was actually purchased 700 times, so it is pretty rare. It is rarer than the other 2, so if you got it, that was a pretty good choice for you. And it looks just how you would use it in real life. You just hold it up like that, so pretty cool looking gear. Now next up here we have Human Rocket. This is a pretty interesting one. It looks basically just like a rocket would, and you hold it like this, so pretty interesting right there. It got around 850 sales, so it got less than the other 2, but more than the tennis racket, so kind of in the middle. And it's a pretty nice gear. If you're able to get any of these 4 gears, they're all pretty rare today. They're all unavailable, so they're definitely nice things you can show off as a nice collectible you got back in the day. And also they aren't really instantly recognizable as a midnight sale item. They don't really fit the theme. They're just kind of random items, so you might have to explain a bit of the backstory if you do own this. And then after that section in the blog, they did continue with some hats. They did these. They have the Royal Faerie wings, a Blue Guardia, and they have a mystery item that they're releasing later on in the sale. The Faerie wings right over here, these are a very popular style of wings that Roblox tend to use for a lot of different things. They are in the midnight blue color, which a lot of the retextures from the sale are, and they look like they're doing alright. They started off at 1,000, they had 1,000 sold, and they're selling for between 20,000 to around 10,000. So definitely, if you bought these, you could definitely make a profit. There's definitely around 6 of them under the price right now, so definitely some stuff has happened to this. So if you're looking to get this item, it definitely looks like it's selling for pretty cheap right now. But yeah, they're a pretty cool pair of wings, and if you do wear them, this is how they look like on characters, so you could definitely make some nice midnight blue outfits with this one. Next up, this is the Oberon Guardia. They say there's a Blue Guardia that they released, and this is the one I'm guessing that they probably released. Fits the most with the theme of colors, and they were kind of vague with the blog post. They kind of put different names the items actually had, so I kind of have to do a bit of guessing, but I think this is the one that they actually released right over here. This is one that they released for limited time and then went off sale just like the other items that came out, and it did actually return a couple of times after this, so this wasn't the only time you were able to get this one. As you can see, I own it and I joined in 2016, so it definitely released a couple of times after that. It's a pretty cool looking Guardia. It's definitely one of the nicer color variants that they have for this series, and it'd be a nice one to go limited. And with the release of limiteds recently, I think that it has a pretty good chance to actually go limited. And this is also like a character just like how the other Guardias look like, so definitely a nice looking helmet. And for this big release of a limited that they were hinting at later on, I'm guessing that was the Midnight Blue Sparkle Time Fedora right over here. I did actually tweet about it as well, so this is probably the release they were talking about. And it is a retexture of the Sparkle Time Fedora, which is a very popular series of items. This one is one of the more expensive ones, selling for almost 10 million, which is pretty crazy. It has sold 100 times, which most of the other ones have sold for, and it started with a price of 50,000, which is a pretty high price as well. This is definitely one of the more expensive items on Roblox, so you're definitely gonna need quite a lot of money if you do want to get this, but this is a pretty good release for the sale, and it definitely generated a lot of hype in the community, so definitely not bad. And the last items they hinted at in this blog post were these star faces, and they said that they released them incrementally every hour, and each one that release would be increasingly rarer, so you had to be up pretty late to get these. And right over here, if you go to star faces, you can see there's quite a lot of them. Obviously not all of these released at that time, but the three that did release were this green one, this blue one, and purple. The yellow, orange, and red released the sale following this, and red, white, and blue released during July 4th. So those were the three that released: green, blue, and purple. And green was the first one to release. It released for 50 Robux and it sold 15,000 times, so quite a high stock, but over time obviously as it went up quite a bit, it was selling for around 4,000 and it's still around 4,000. So this obviously isn't the biggest face series. Out of the colored faces, this series is usually one of the cheaper ones, so if you do like this series, it's definitely still available to get if you do want to get it. And this one is a nice one to get out of the series, and it's a nice little face release from that sale. The next one to release was this blue star face. It has half the stock for 7,500 and it has 2 times the price, which 100 price is right over here. This one's doing just a bit better at 1,000 more than green one. It has a pretty big gap, so after a few sales, it's definitely gonna go up over time. Yeah, this is a pretty cool one. Definitely nothing much else to say, but it's just basically based on color preference. So if you like green more, you might go for that one. If you like blue more, you might go for this one. And then purple was the last one to release. It released for only 1,000 stock, which is really rare, and for a bit more than the other one, the 150 price. So definitely pretty crazy. This one's doing the best out of the other two. It's selling for around 10,000, so that's a pretty big increase from the original price. So if you're able to get any of these three, definitely a pretty good profit. Most faces when they first release, they're all a big profit when they go on sale. So that was all the information from this blog post, but they did also tweet about some things, and I was also able to find out more things that they did not really mention too well. So over here they did start off saying that the sale starts in 3 hours, and the first tweet was a new limited item is releasing in roughly 5 minutes. So there isn't much clear idea on what this one was. Just going through some of the items, I'm guessing that the item they were talking about was the Midnight Blue Shaggy right over here. It is in that midnight blue color. Based on some of the release dates, I'm guessing this was the one that released at this time. It's a pretty cool looking Shaggy. The midnight blue color looks really great with a lot of different items, so people definitely do like this one. It has sold for almost 100,000, which is actually one of the highest I think a Shaggy has sold at, so that's pretty crazy. It has a 500 stock, which is pretty low, half of the purple star face, and a 1,000 price, which is the usual price for a Shaggy. Definitely pretty cool. This is a pretty expensive one, so if you definitely do want to get this one, you might have to trade for it as this selling price is pretty high, but it's a pretty cool release from them. And next up, they say that a new item is in the next hour. They don't really say what that is, but I'm guessing they are talking about these cool moon shades right over here. These are a nice looking pair of shades. They have the moon texture around it, and they basically like just a silly thing for the night time. If you do want to make a night themed outfit, this would fit really good with that. And like the other items during the sale, they went off sale, like mentioned in the blog. So if you're able to get these, this is a pretty good purchase for you. They sold a little over 1,600 times, so definitely pretty rare as well as the other items. So all these items that are off sale are pretty much really hard to find. So if you're able to get any of these, those are pretty good purchases for you. Next up over here, if they do actually say what item they're talking about, they have the sleepy hour friend right over here, and it's going to be available for 5 hours. So that gives us a bit more information. And as you can see right now, it is actually limited, but it did stay off sale after it did release for 5 hours. It did end up going limited, however, during the Black Friday sale in 2016. So it took over 3 years to get this item limited if you did own it originally. And it's doing pretty well right now. It had about 1,000 sold when it first released, and now it's selling for around 4,000 price. So hopefully a pretty big increase from the original price, and it definitely looks pretty nice. It's a nice little shoulder friend. So if you're definitely a fan of this one, you can still get it on the catalog today. And then next up over here, they did actually say the item that released at this time. They did say Starlight Shades buy fast, and that was because this is actually limited right over here. They released for 100 price and had stock of 2,500, so definitely a pretty rare one as well. They did actually retexture this a couple of times, so if you didn't get this one, you can still get some other variants that they did release of this. It looks pretty cool, has some little stars in the shade area, and it has a nice little green color to it as well. And it's selling for around 4,000, just like the owl is, so if you want to get this, you can still get it for a pretty good price today. And right over here, they did say that there are some item releases, the big item release, but they were just trolling for these last 3 tweets, and they did end up releasing it, which was the Midnight Blue Sparkle Tin Fedora right over here. So these 3 item releases are pretty unknown, but there are some other items that they released during the sale. And so this first one over here, it says in 5 minutes we're going to treat everybody who's staying up late with us, and it's going limited tomorrow. That item actually is the shooting star right over here. As you can see, the description says this item will become limited tomorrow, the afternoon of June 22nd, 2013. So this basically was telling you guys to buy it, and then it would go limited tomorrow. The price chart for this one is kind of broken. You can't really see what happened here, so you can't see if it went up or down over time. time, but what I've seen is stayed around this price for a while, so if you bought it and 6,000 people did, that was a pretty good increase for you. And there's also a blue variant to this, so they did actually retexture this a couple times. And right over here, after the midnight blue sparkle time Fedora, they say a new pair of shades arrive in 5 minutes, and that is most likely these Crescent moon shades. They're a little moon themed item. They look pretty cool. This one are actually on sale. I have a couple of different variants for this one, so it looks like this one actually stayed on sale in comparison to the other items, and it was discounted a couple of times. So I think this is the one they just kept on sale after it came back for a little event or sale, and they never took it back off sale. So unfortunate for the original owners, but it's still on sale, and it's also a pretty good looking pair of shades, so they're not that bad. And then later on, they tweeted about more things, but we've already went over everything that I think I was able to find right over here. And from what I've seen, I don't really see much else, but I think I did see that this item did end up going limited on the day after, so this could have been one of the limited tweets they were talking about previously, but still a nice looking item right over here, this Happy Time Magic Flower Hat. So if you were able to get it, it did end up selling about 500 times, and then it went limited, so definitely a pretty cool one if you were able to get it before it went limited during the sale. So yeah, that was the midnight sale in 2013. It seems like a pretty small sale in comparison to a lot of different things, but still a lot happened. Basically every item that released during that sale went off sale, so you're able to get quite a lot of little collectible items that are no longer available. They released a lot of big limiteds. They released a big Sparkle Time Fedora, these wings, a Shaggy, so a lot of big items and also a lot of small items for those that maybe didn't have that much Robux. Yeah, this was a pretty good sale overall, and I think many people were happy to see this continue for a couple of years before they ended sales altogether. Yeah, that is the catalog flashback for the midnight sale 2013. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.